grim one, but it's a question. Will you guys ever increase the numbers of players that can be in a server?
That's a good question. Um, so I believe the current server cap is 20, and the reason that we have it at that amount is because of scene limits, right? Now what that means is your computer can actually only handle so many characters in front of you, and we have to be able to support a minimum requirement of computer, right? So like for example, we go all the way down to the iPhone 6, right? We have to be able to support all the way down, and that means that we can only have as large of servers as that phone can handle, right? So that means that either in order to increase the player count, we either need to do two things. We either need to stop supporting lower end devices, or we need to optimize our models more. And optimization is something that's very big that we have to do here, because continuously we have to always push the bar, because not only do we want to increase the quality of our kaijus, but we need to decrease their performance requirements, and oftentimes they fight. um Actually, I think this is a great model to kind of demonstrate how much they fight, if you'd like to segue into that, Jonathan.
Yeah, so on Gypsy here, there are many, many moving parts. And one of the things we try to watch is part count and triangle count. And for example, one thing that we're doing is we're managing exactly which parts move on which arm to deploy which weapon. And we've been extraordinarily careful, as Verret said. So this kaiju, or this character, with its detail, should perform similarly to many of the characters currently in game. We didn't throw out our report, our performance requirements just to make the character. It still had to meet all the statistics we aim for. But it's a really hard balance. I would have loved to have added a lot more to Gypsy. Um, However, uh, certain things can't be done within a multiplayer Roblox game supporting 20 players. But we do try, and I think for Gypsy it hasn't turned out too bad.
Segueing into another question, which is, will Gypsy Danger be free, a game pass? What will its requirements be? We've seen this question many times now. To answer it, Gypsy, for those of you who don't know, back in 2020 when the game released, we briefly had a DLC game pass that only a handful of people actually bought, that was for a pre-order effectively for Pacific Rim. Um, and in this pre-order, it did actually say that eventually the DLC itself would be free. So we're still deciding on exactly what we want to do. Obviously, at some point, possibly on release, though that isn't decided, the kaiju will be free. But as of now, we haven't decided when that's going to be, whether we're going to release the kaijus first, then it's going to be free, or what we're going to do in terms of that.
All right. With that big question out of the way, I think we ought to tackle one very big question, which a lot of people also have, and that is about Godzilla X Kong Empire, which of course is the new coming up MonsterVerse Godzilla movie. And somebody asked, will you guys make a 2024 Kong and Godzilla remodel when this movie comes out? Now, I'm going to be quite frank in this. That really depends on the individuality of Godzilla and Kong in the movie. If they really have some very remarkable differences and maybe tweaks, maybe if Kong has new weapons or stuff like that, or has gotten really old, maybe Godzilla. Well, what I was actually thinking, maybe if Godzilla 2021 has not gotten a remodel by that time yet, we could always merge the two if it's got some new abilities or something like that. And then, of course, is the new character, the different ape species in the movie trailer. Quite easily say about that. We're, of course, going to be adding that. And I suppose I can have some people look forward to when this happens. Of course, demand for the MonsterVerse genre is going to be big again. And we are eventually also planning to add a lot of the unadded kaijus that we do not have in game yet, but are in the Godzilla versus Kong movie. So you can all look forward to that. Um, and there, actually, I have a question for you, which I see here. Will the Easter items be removed in the next update?
Yes. We've been in very much been backed up in terms of updates. We have a very large update that's coming out that I can't give details on. But because of that, we haven't been able to push other updates to actually remove it. And we also forgot. But yes, it shouldn't be around in the next update. Though, on that note, we do plan on adding more things to the map that behave similarly to them and give advantages in combat, since that's been extremely popular.
Uh, and then I have another question here, Zarar, which I would actually like to answer with you. As
Yeah.
well, we had so many of them that I'm not quite sure which it is. So let's just go over a few of them. And that is, which kaiju has been the most difficult to create, animate, and script? Well, of course,
I
let's do
I
the
hate you.
part.
I
Yeah.
hate you for this question because it's definitely Ghidorah. Has to be the Ghidorah. The King
In
Ghidorah.
no,
Yeah.
no, actually, I think it's been beaten. I think it wholeheartedly has been beaten by Ava. No.
I don't think so. It didn't. Okay, we took 2 years on King Ghidorah because of the amount. We remodeled it 4 times.
That is true. Oh, I
We
forgot how
reanimated
long
it
that
over
took.
5 times. Three different, no, 6 different animators.
Oh God, I forgot that it took that long. Holy
I
shit!
don't.
Oh, that's a while ago. Um, yeah, that's a while ago. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Still, Ava was such an intricate like process. No, I mean, to be fair, it was all done by one of our animators. Um, but it did take a long time, a lot of animations. It's probably the kaiju with the most animations in game. Definitely, actually. 64 animations, if I'm correct. But yeah, real quickly, I want to actually go to the last part because nor me, no Czar can, of course, comment on which kaiju was the most difficult to script. That's a question for you, Verit.
What kaiju was the most difficult to script? I would actually say that was Monster Zero, and it's not for the reason that it maybe definitely Eva if we're talking about just a kaiju, but me and Zeal had to basically cram 20-hour working days for a full week in order to get the new framework out on time to meet the New Year deadline of when we wanted to get Monster Zero out. So that was a huge crunch. That wasn't quite only Monster Zero, but the new framework was needed for a lot of the features that Monster Zero required. So it also was. If not that, then it would also be Ava, just due to the raw amount of attacks, etc., that was needed for that.
All right. All right. Then I actually have another thing right here, which I see, which is basically also your specialty. Shame Zeal isn't there to answer it, but will more minor updates, such as bug fixes or small features, become more common?
I actually answered a pretty similar question to this not that long ago. And so there's a number of factors in here. In terms of rebalances, you're going to start seeing a lot more of them. We really redone how we do rebalances almost entirely, so that the community in large can help us with them. Um, and that's something you're going to start seeing in the next update. Actually, we have a large rebalance wave of I think 12 kaiju's that are getting rebalanced, and then after that another 12. Um, but in terms of bug fixes and such, what usually ends up happening is immediately after we release an update, we actually start working on the next update. And why it's so problematic for us to release things like bug fixes is because we oftentimes need to do the work twice if we're going to add a bug fix and add it immediately. Um, So typically bug fixes actually get pushed to the next major update because it's very easy to work on the next major update. And there's a lot of things such as testing that we need to do whenever we do a bug fix, and we need to do a whole round of testing to make sure the game isn't going to break. So in terms of bug fixes, probably not as much, but we do definitely want to focus on fixing a lot of the current bugs in game. They just won't be split up into smaller updates.
All right. All right. Garrett, do you see any more questions?
Yes, actually, I see a few. A question for you and Zarar, actually. Or mostly just you. Will you be revealing the loading screen winners in an update or in Discord?
Yes. That's going to be revealed probably in a Discord announcement, probably by then an elevator. Probably, I think. I don't actually know. We've already decided upon them.
To note, will Gypsy's forearms actually transform, or will it be like KAJIU, where its weapons just fade into existence?
Show them, just show them to answer the question.
I think we can answer that.
Just visually answer the question, please. I forget that I have a live preview here. I keep watching the stream and it's a little bit behind. I'm like, why are things moving?
I think
So
we
as you
got
can
to do
probably
that
see,
again. I think
yeah,
we got to
sure.
do that again, Jonathan.
I'll just,
Gotta do that again. It's too
I'll just
fast. Show it around. Like
I'll
spin around it.
put it on repeat.
Yeah.
Ooh. Change the angle at which you're viewing it, I think. Wait.
So this is some of the work that went into Gypsy and trying to determine roughly how the cannon transforms. There are a lot of moving panels inside that allow this, but I guess to answer that question, no, it won't just fade in. It is an actual transformation. Additionally, there's no hiding parts. Uh, it works.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, I might as well ask you, because I happen to know the answer, but how do you, well, I suppose how'd the process go of knowing how everything transforms, and how'd you come to know all of that?
Oh well, that was fun. I watched the same clip for about 6 hours, and started modeling the individual pieces. Additionally speaking,
So a question for Zarar. What are the processes that go into making some of these choices?
Well, there's a lot of discussion that needs to go into every move set now because some things might look good when it's being animated, but like sometimes it's quite impossible to balance such things, and it's quite impossible to uh, make them work with how power scaling is and how other things work, such as scripting them. Obviously, everything comes with limitations. So these decisions often take time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically just why some things sometimes get delayed and some things can take longer because sometimes we scrap entire projects if we don't think they're up to par because we like releasing quality goods and we like ensuring quality, and that becomes hard as well with our scale. We have like about how many models do we have in game now, Garrett?
62.
We have around 62 models. Like editing each one of them is a logistical nightmare. So we're trying to release good things and we're trying to remodel them slowly. That's
Mm-hmm.
just that. I think we can move on. I think these guys want to see more Gypsy than anything else.
Let's answer one more question. Um, real quickly, I would actually like to hook into what Zora said because Zora is extremely right. We do always try to get out what is the best looking, what is purely of quality that will prosper in game because we don't really like adding things that don't quite meet that bar because they're going to stand out. So of course that sort of segues into a big, I suppose, I, I don't know, just this movement of how much we really value our dev team and the work they do, the time they put into all of it. And I would honestly like to say, well, of course, logic
of some of the movable portions within the arm, as well as within the back. All of which function individually. Here's Gypsy's gun deployed. And the normal fist. So there's some of the poses of our main Jaeger. What would you like to do next, Energize?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to definitely say the person that's going to have to animate this is, well, they've got their work cut out for them. As you could have seen, it's got a lot of moving parts, and that is just the arms and all that. Now, surprisingly to some people, this definitely is not all. We're going to be showing more of this model because there is more to show. But before we do that, I suppose we'll get into a little Q&A, shall we, Vert, Zarar, Jonathan?
Yes. So if you'd like to
Definitely.
ask some questions,